Good morning, guys. Today we're going to be doing a posterior workout. So your posterior is just the muscles that are behind you. So we're going to be working out the back, we're going to do a little triceps, and then we're going to focus on the glutes and the hamstrings today. We are going in with a lot of exercises here. So the first three movements, we're just going to complete them individually. Once we get through those three movements, then we're going to move on to some supersets, and then we're going to finish off with a tricep. So hope you enjoy the workout. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment down below. I also have the workout in the description below too, so just take a look at that. Also follow me on Instagram at CourtneyOFitness, and we're going to get into the workout now. Okay guys, welcome to the workout. We're going to start off with hip thrust here. We're going to be doing 4 sets and we're going for 20 reps. So we are going for that higher rep range. You can see here that I do have access to a barbell. If you do not have access to a barbell, just use a dumbbell. If you don't have access to a dumbbell, again, you can get creative with some weighted objects at your house, or just go on body weight and maybe add 10 more reps to each set. You're going to notice here as well that I actually have a mat wrapped around the bar, and that's just to make that more comfortable on the hips. If you also have a bar at home, you could be using a mat to wrap around the bar, or you could use a pillow, blanket, anything of that sort. So for this hip thrust, notice that my knees are directly on top of my heels when I push my hips up. I also have my chin tucked in and I'm looking straight ahead throughout the entirety of the movement here. And I'm making sure that I'm resting my upper back on the couch. If you want more glute, you're going to move your heels back so that they're directly underneath the knees. And if you want more hamstrings, you're going to walk your heels forward a little bit more. Okay, so next movement here, we're going into a bent over row. We're doing 4 sets, 12 reps here. If you don't have a barbell, you can just grab onto dumbbells, and if you don't have dumbbells, you can grab onto like a water case, but make sure you push your hips back and you're driving up with the elbows. Don't just yank on with the wrist. So after we do 4 sets of the bent over rows, we're going to move on to a sumo squat. Obviously, I have more equipment here. I have a resistance band and a dumbbell. You could do this with a loop band around your knees. You could do this just body weight only, or you can use a dumbbell. But what you want to do is you want to move your feet out pretty wide, your heels are in, your toes are pointed out. And I want you to actually focus for this set to point the toes out very far. That way you get a little bit more inner thigh and you're really going to be working the glutes there. Because as you point your toes out, you get hip external rotation, and that causes glute activation. Again, we're only doing 4 sets here for 12 reps. You want to make it harder. Maybe you don't have any weighted equipment at home. Just take it really slow on the way down and then push up regular speed. So just control the negative. You can take that same principle and apply it to all of the other movements as well. Okay, so now we're going to get into a superset. We're going to start off with a supine pullover. Again, use a dumbbell, or you can use any weighted object in your house. But you're going to go back with a relatively straight arm here. Notice I'm not bending and extending my elbows. I do recommend that you keep your chest pushed up during this movement. If the chest is caved in, you're going to be really yanking on that shoulder and it's going to feel really uncomfortable. Okay, we are supersetting this movement with a lying hamstring curl. Obviously, I have more access to equipment here, but I have shown you videos where I just put ankle weights and I do them, or I stick a dumbbell in between my feet. So you can do either of those as well. If you don't have access to anything, just do an elevated glute bridge to substitute for this movement. That way you're still working out the hamstrings here. But this machine, I'm just working with what I have. I wasn't able to really bring my feet up as much as I'd wanted to, but it is what it is, and you got to deal with what you got. Okay, so after 4 sets and 12 reps of each of those last 2 movements, we're going to head into the next superset, which again we're doing for 4 sets, 12 reps. We're going to start off with a rear delt fly. We're going to be doing this in that bent over position, so you want to push your hips back. And from here, notice that my elbows are on top of my wrists, so I'm leading with my elbows throughout the entire movement. I'm also going to stick my chest forward each time I bring my arms up. That way I can really place that tension on the rear delts. Okay, and to superset that movement, we're going to be working on the triceps. So here I'm doing an overhead tricep extension. Notice that my elbows are really close to the sides here, and I'm going to bring that dumbbell back only into a 90 degree. Again, we're going to stand up nice and tall here. For this movement, you want to try to keep your elbows aimed forward, and you want to keep them pretty close to your sides. And again, we're going to go in with that superset for 4 sets, 12 reps each movement. Here is my boyfriend pretending he's a caterpillar. Okay, so now we're going to be finishing off with a tricep. This is a glute tricep. What we're going to be doing is we're going to start off with glute bridges. We're going to do 20 reps. After that, we're going to go right into fire hydrants, and then we're going to finish off with donkey kicks. For the fire hydrants and the donkey kicks, go for 15 to 20 reps. I know I definitely lost count when I was doing them here, so I was definitely within that range. But for the glute bridge, you don't have to have weight. You can add weight if you want to. Again, you could use a band or you could place a dumbbell on the hips like I'm doing here. So for this glute bridge, I also want to challenge you to not let your hips touch the floor. Try to keep constant tension on the glutes. Another key note, you should be squeezing your core the entire way through. And with your stance in your feet, you want to keep the heels directly underneath the knees, but you also want to keep the toes pointed out slightly. And since you're pointing your toes out slightly, you're going to push your knees away from each other. Okay, so once we completed 20 reps of those glute bridges, we're going to move into the next movement here. We're going into fire hydrants, so we're going to set up in the tabletop position. You're going to place, if you have the band, place the band underneath the knee that's on the floor, and then from there you can just let that band go wherever it wants on the other leg. You can use ankle weights, you can use a resistance band, and if you just have dumbbells, just place the dumbbell in between your knee and do it that way. You want to do your best to lift your knee up as high as you possibly can. And there's the cat there standing in front of the camera. But you do want to try to bring that knee up as high as you can. It is a little bit tough when you have the band and the weights on. So just lift it up as high as you can. And that way you get the most out of the exercise. Another key note is that when you're bringing your knee back down, you don't want to bring it down too close to the other knee, because when that happens, the band gets too loose and then there's no more tension in the band. So you do want to keep that tension in your band. Now we're going into donkey kicks. Same deal with the donkey kicks. You start in that tabletop position. You can use the band, you can use ankle weights, or you can stick the dumbbell in between on the knee. Now with this donkey kick, you actually want to kick up with your heel, and you do want to kick that leg up as high as you can without arching the lower back. You definitely don't want your lower back to sink in. And then also to keep the band in place, just make sure the knee that's supported on the floor has the band wrapped underneath it. And again, we're going to 15 to 20 reps here for a total of 3 sets. Okay guys, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I'll see you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.